This week, we wonder if Australia, among other things, knows the definition of the word irony. And is the newest organic natural food for adults idea going to be the next big thing? And just what the hell have the Chinese been watching every Sunday night for the past several years?
Oh my God, everything's on fire! Get that guy from over there! Robot lady, sound the alarm!
Warning. The following podcast is another wasted hour. Warning. The following podcast is another wasted hour.
Don't waste my motherfucking time!
Oh my goodness, so many things are happening right now. I can't even imagine. Some weeks there's like no news. There's just like, it's spring. Welcome to spring, everybody. That's not really news. This week we've got all kinds of things happening with like Julian Assange and like Notre Dame and all this stuff. So we'll talk about that later. The thing you need to know about right now is that the next hour of your life is going to be replaced with two ignorant, uninformed, ill-advised, self-deprecating morons ranting about opinions we have no right to have, which are probably wrong and absolutely do not matter. Our goal here at Another Wasted Hour is to convince you that where we hail from, just outside Washington, D.C., is not just a city of politics and scandals, but one brimming with art, music, and culture. As impossible as that may seem. So listeners, now that you know why you're here, now in studio live, we have someone who's probably best known for his belt. We have Kai Orion. Woo! Hello, Kai.
Hello.
I love your work as the hunter. That's very well done.
Thanks.
Your constellation is brilliant. One of my favorites.
I had someone message me once, and they were like, "We're thinking about naming our kid Kai Orion, and but we're vegetarians, and we're worried that he's going to grow up to be too much of like a hunter mentality. What do you think? Do you consider yourself a hunter?"
Like, you look up and you're like, "Oh, those stars are vaguely in a shape that someone calls a hunter. I'm gonna kill some things."
I would go for a salad, but I'm Orion.
Right? It can't. Orion the gardener. The lesser known of the Orions is his wimpy younger brother. I'm gonna just knit something if that's okay while you're out. All right, whatever, Orion Jr.
That would definitely be me.
Probably one of those reasons why we don't give out titles like that anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
What if they name him Hunter? Like, I don't see how that would make him any more a hunter either, but I don't know.
Should have followed up with that quip.
I actually gave like for some reason I was like about to go on this long drive, and I ended up like spending the whole drive like deeply thinking about it, and I wrote back this really like detailed response.
Right. You're like, I'm glad that you brought this up. First, yeah, I think I am a hunter now that you mentioned it. I hadn't noticed until just now.
Well, and I was thinking like back then, I think a hunter like had a totally different like connotation. Like I think it is more of like a symbol of like courage and resourcefulness and kind of like,
Oh, sure. Yeah. I could see that.
So that's what I said. I
think that's good. No, that was really thoughtful of you, because I would have been like, I mean, like a spy hunter. That's what I feel like, the video game. That's
Whenever random people message me, I always like, I don't know, I get really excited and just like dive into it as much as I can.
So what you're saying is people should message you. Ladies and gentlemen, right now, as you're listening to this podcast, I just want you to take a moment, set aside a little bit of time of your life, go to Kai Orion's Facebook page, just look him up on Facebook, and just send him very inquisitive questions that he has to really think about.
The most obscure thing.
Yeah, just obscure, like, I really need your opinion on this thing, Kai. And he's going to send you paragraphs of information.
It's like Dear Abby for musicians.
Right.
Absolutely.
So we've got some crazy things happening in the news, that's for sure. Let's start with local news, which is you. On Sunday, April 28th, you've got a brand new album called Start to End coming out.
Yes.
And you're celebrating that with a house concert down at the commune down in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
Now that's like a house concert. So if people want to go to that, they'd have to reach out to you, obviously ask you a question about something very prolific, and then get the information for the concert that way.
Exactly. This is a perfect opportunity to to reach out.
And but yeah, so you have a whole album coming out, and we actually are lucky enough to have one of the tracks from that album here on the show. And if you want to hear the entire track right now, just fast forward to the 1 hour mark of this show and you can listen to it in its entirety, and then you can come back and join us for the rest of the show. But we'll also be playing a clip from that a little later in the show. So tell us about this this album you have coming out. Why is this a monumental event for you?
Well, so it's my second album, and the first one I did, it was called Pots and Pans, and the whole idea was all the instruments are like found sounds and different sort of sounds from everyday life, with each song being like a different scene, like household sounds, suburban sounds, and I had a lot of fun exploring that. And then this album, a lot of people gave me feedback and really liked it, but you're like, oh, it'd sound cool if you had, real instruments as well.
For those that can't see, because this is a podcast, he did put that in quotes. There were air quotes around real instruments.
You'd sound a lot better if it was more mainstream.
Right. If it wasn't so creative and revolutionary, if you could just do something, I don't know, more Britney Spears like.
Exactly. But no, this album, I use kind of a mix between, there's still a lot of found sounds like wine glasses and that kind of thing.
Cool.
And then also, more normal instruments. And I think it's a really, doing that kind of, let me almost experiment more in some ways, because I could experiment more with like the song structures and things like that. And yeah, that's basically, I think with everything I've done musically so far, I've kind of tried to like strike a bridge between writing like accessible songs with melodies and stuff, and then having kind of like ridiculously experimental like production.
I think it's a really neat like balance and counterbalance, right? Because you hear a lot of kind of experimental music, and sometimes it's a little difficult to listen to. I admit, with some of those people who say real instruments, right? Sometimes you go like, okay, I'm not quite following what's happening. And then you hear kind of more accessible music, and sometimes it can be a bit rote and repetitive from the other things you've heard. So being able to take kind of some pop sensibilities in terms of accessibility and then combine that with a few elements of experimentation and some really unique sounds, I think is a really nice balance to open people's minds to something a little bit new, but not throwing them in the deep end.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I love the experience of like hearing something new that you've never heard before.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think, to me, like I never, if something doesn't have like a heart or like a good like emotional connection, then it's not as powerful. And so I think it's really cool when they can come together, and it's like, it's a serious like heartfelt song, and it's like using a lawnmower as a bass.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about the track Tiny World from the album start to end. Again, if you want to listen to Tiny World right now, fast forward to the 1 hour mark, go and listen to it. The show at the Commune down in Washington, D.C. on Sunday, April 28th. People can go to that. That's a pseudo public show, right? It's not like closed off just for private. They just have to get in touch with you about it.
Yeah, definitely. It's open to the public. Just can't plaster the address all over.
Yeah.
Everything.
So head up to www.kaiorion.com to get more information. And that's KAIORION.com. And of course, ask him a very thoughtful question and find out where the show is specifically and how to get a ticket for it. So speaking of other news, I don't know if you guys heard, but so Julian Assange was kicked out of the consulate or the
Ecuadorian embassy.
Embassy, that's what it is.
Yes, in London.
Kicked out of the embassy in London, and then immediately set fire to Notre Dame. That's all right. I haven't been following
how it works
the
in
news.
your mind?
I think that's how it went.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain.
It would make for a better movie than what really happened. So let's go with that.
And then, of course, because he lit Notre Dame on fire, he was then immediately arrested. And so, yeah, that's interesting that we had done a story about Julian Assange, like I want to say like 8 months ago or something, where they were saying that they were threatening to kick him out because like he didn't feed his cat or like clean his room, or like there was all this stuff that they were basically like, we need you to act like a normal human being and just take care of yourself. And he was like, I'm Julian Assange, I don't have to do anything. And
He's basically that roommate we've all had in college.
yeah,
That's
just
the
do
best
your
part of
dishes,
it,
Julian. I don't have to do my dishes. I'm very busy. I'm overthrowing governments, man.
I did read a little bit about it today, about the old complaints and all that. And
Yeah.
what my favorite part was, apparently after we talked about that story, he then tried to sue them for like impinging his rights or something like that. There's like, basically saying like, if they're going to demand I have to clean my room, that's infringing my rights as my freedoms as a human being. And pretty much every judge said,
Yeah, no,
clean your room. Just fucking clean your room.
yeah, that sounds like him. Like that doesn't surprise me one bit that he did that.
Yeah.
So
Mom.
yeah, and did you see him come out of the Ecuadorian?
I saw a short clip.
Yeah, he looked homeless.
Yeah. The
He
beard
looked.
and-
You know who he looked like? He
Well, in
looked-
that precise moment, Keith, he was.
That's true.
That's
So he
very
fit
true.
the bill. You know who you reminded me of is like David Letterman, like a year after he retired,
Yeah. Yeah.
where he's like, I'm not on TV anymore, and he just let himself go, and he looked like some kind of like lunatic artist that lived like underneath a bridge.
Some disgraced coder who was stuck in the Ecuadorian embassy for years.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, all of that things. Here's the good news. I did some research on the Notre Dame stuff, and it sounds like the damage to it is less than people expected. Because I was watching it on TV, and I thought, well, all of that is now on fire. They had a picture from above, and it just looked like inside of Notre Dame was just hell now, which I found ironic. But but apparently most of the stuff inside is actually fine. It was just the roof that caught fire, and then inside there was like there were like domes of rock that were like the inside ceiling.
Yeah.
And that stopped most of the things from the inside actually catching fire and burning up. So all the art's good and everything like that. So that's pretty
I
cool.
heard that Quasimodo got moved into a Holiday Inn nearby, so he's good.
Yeah, right. And now it's a Holiday Inn Express, and now he's written an entire symphony all by himself.
That's some callback.
And one of the rose windows, the biggest of the stained glass windows, the west facing one, was also saved.
Good.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Notre damage control.
I see what you did there, and I hate you a little bit.
He's on board. He's one of us now. We've officially made it happen.
He does fit right in, doesn't
Yeah,
he?
this guy knows exactly what's going on here. There's no doubt in my mind. All right. Well, great. Welcome to the show again. Sunday, April 28th. Go reach out to KyleRyan.com and go see him play live. And without further ado, which I say all the time, I've realized I say it more often than I probably should. We're going to put you in a different role than you're probably used to. We're going to make you the editor-in-chief of your own publication.
Oh.
Yeah, an independent publication, probably written by a coder who's stuck in the Ecuadorian embassy and won't clean his room. And we're going to pitch you some ideas for stories, and you let us know whether or not they make it into the publication, okay?
All right.
So this is what we call the weather report. So Adam, get us started off.
Man acquitted on charges he tried to fatten himself up with fried chicken to avoid army service.
I would do this.
Yeah, it
I'm
sounds
just
like
saying.
it sounds a
it's-
lot easier than burning a draft card or something.
It sounds like there's a great human connection and a lot of relatability. I think people really like it.
This is
So
what
this is actually sorry, go ahead, Keith.
I call this a win-win is what I call it. I don't have
Yeah.
to be in the army and I get to eat fried chicken.
So this is in South Korea, where every male is required to serve 21 months in the army.
Oh, okay.
But there are ways to get out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Physical disability, failing the fitness test. They say like you can win, like if you win certain competitions, you get to avoid. They're usually like musical or cultural kind of competitions or sports competitions.
Oh,
Anything that they say, quote, I think I'm trying to find the actual quote, is like elevates the image of South Korea to the world.
interesting.
Sort of thing.
Okay. Or
So did
if you can outrun them. I believe that's another one.
What was you gonna ask?
So did this scheme work, or is this just he's trying to do it?
So he did get off. So apparently this is just the newest story of this, but they actually have a whole office in the military to try to find people that are intentionally trying to like gain weight in like game ways. Maybe like they're talking about how like a few months ago they found like a group of like a Facebook group of teenagers swapping weight gain techniques. To try to pack on as much pounds as possible, and then like teaching them to like slouch it when they're measuring your height, so your BMI goes up, and all sorts of crazy stuff. But this guy, his lawyer was able to prove that this kid's been fat since high school. They said he's been clinically obese since about freshman year, and so to say that he's just now trying to gain the weight is stretching it a little bit. But I did find it like pretty fascinating. That why did no one here in like the 70s think of that? Like, oh, if I'm going to get drafted, I'm just going to go eat a whole lot of fried chicken till my heart doesn't quite work, and then I can get out on a murmur.
They did it. Some people did, right? Because during the 70s, you couldn't like be gay and in the military. So there were definitely people who were like, I'm super gay. I'm like going to totally suck this guy's dick right now if you leave me alone. And they were like,
Sorry.
well, yeah, you can't make it in. They're like, oh, damn. And like went home. And
What was the character's name in MASH?
that was Klinger.
Klinger, that's right.
Yeah, Colonel Klinger.
My brain kept saying Clink, but that was the guy from Hogan's Heroes.
Right. Yeah. That's the German guy. Totally
Yeah.
different side of that war.
Yes, the other side of the Vietnam War.
Right. Where the Germans were. Right. When they bombed Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened.
So that's fascinating to me because I think what they're doing is taking fat shaming to a new level. Where they're
Or
like,
it's actually an asset.
yeah, not only are you fat, you got to go to court. That's how fat you are.
That's true. Yeah.
Is it true that you are fat? Yes, I am fat. How long have you been this disgusting? Like all my life. Are you sure? So
This totally would have been the way I would
Yeah.
try to get if we had mandatory services. Be just shoveling down Mongolian barbecue until I can't walk.
this is also the only time that a singles profile online could actually be like legally used against you. Right? Because like on the profile it'd be like, on here it says that you're 120 pounds. It's like, I lied. Okay. Never even close to that. Fine, whatever. Now I want to be in the army. Just kill me.
Yeah, I think this story has a lot of good elements. I'd say we go forward.
Yeah,
with
it's
Yes.
news. All right, excellent. All right, first item up for bid for me. Australian High Court will decide if Indigenous people without citizenship can be deported.
I'm not sure they know what indigenous
it.
means.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think they know what Indigenous, deport, or irony means. Like, they're a penal colony, for God's sakes. There was literally a period in their history when people wanted to leave and they wouldn't let them. Right?
It's very true.
Like, come on, Australia. Give me one reason. What, overcrowding? Bullshit. As far as population goes, 90% of your country is basically Mars.
This is true. I was about to say that whatever the name of that big desert is.
Yeah. It's just the outback, right? It's
The penal colony. I did see a post the other day. It was like I was applying for citizenship to move to Australia, and they asked me if I had any criminal background. I responded, "Why, is that still a requirement?"
yeah, I mean, I don't understand. Are you concerned that the Indigenous people might be murderers? Literally all of Australia is trying to murder you. Like, you're used to this.
also, why don't they have citizenship in the first place?
I don't know. I mean, hell,
I
at
guess-
one point, I think they were stealing Indigenous people's children. It seems like they should get at least a couple of murder mulligans at this point. Like, you should just give it to them. Or you're a citizen. You just even if you, I would think like you probably don't want to be a citizen. You're like, I was here, and they're like, we've decided to make you part of our club. I'm like, no, I'm good. I had a club before you. I'm just gonna stick with that club.
I mean, they're the immigrants in that case,
Right.
The,
No, I mean-
the normal people in Australia.
I mean, I get it. They had to take over the land because of, reasons or whatever. But like now Now they're deciding if people whose ancestors lived there like 60,000 years ago have to get out of the passenger seat because they yelled shotgun in 1901. Like, you know, like it's ridiculous. So I don't know. Like, I hope that doesn't ever come over here, right? Like, we've done so many terrible things already to Native Americans. Then to be like, well, I don't know if you're allowed to stay in the United States because
I don't know. At this rate,
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised.
it's not that far off. It feels like
It's not that off brand.
Oh my goodness. So yeah. So is it news?
Yeah, I would say it's news. I would say as provided that there's enough, with the court case, are we allowed to get reporters in there?
I would assume so if they're citizens.
Is there a closed? If the reporters are citizens?
Yeah, right. I don't know.
What's our team in Australia looking like?
That's a little down under.
We might have some logistical issues,
Yeah,
but
it's true.
the story interest is there.
We sent them down there, and then they got freaked out by the toilets going the other direction, so they came back.
Which you can't blame them too much.
No, not at all. That's horrifying. Nobody wants to be down there with that happening. All right, Adam, what's our next story?
So it's something that's happened to pretty much all of us that went away from home for a time, whether it was college or work or something, where you come back and your parents have sold off something from your childhood that was still valuable to you.
I think I saw this story.
For me, it was my entire collection of Legos.
Oh, that's rough.
For this individual, man sues parents over his massive pornography collection.
Also Legos.
Coincidentally.
Yeah.
Are you saying that the same way that a lot of it sticks together?
Right, exactly. Just imagine the Lego movie, but like for adults.
Oh, I'm pretty sure Rule 34 has created that somewhere.
I mean, there's little pegs and little holes. We're just basically 2/3 of the way there.
We are all basically Legos in
Right.
that sense.
There's a reason it works.
So he's alleging that it was almost $30,000 worth of pornography, including vintage out-of-print films.
For the record, you should never admit that.
Yeah.
You should never go, I had $30,000 worth of porn.
It's all I had.
Yeah.
Unless you're working for like a very specific theater in San Francisco, that's not a thing I feel like you should be proud of.
I feel like the lawyer should go, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this man has apparently never heard of the internet.
That was my reaction.
Like, you don't even have to pay for it, man. Come on. How behind the times are you?
But to be fair, I would understand if that's all he was his $30,000 pornography collection.
I guess so. Like at that point, I'm wondering if he was actually using his pornography or if he was like hoping to like create a museum or something. Because if he moved out of his parents' basement at some reasonable time in the past where they didn't go, hey, could you get this porn out of our basement? Right. So he can't be that old, can he?
I'm trying to see.
Or maybe the fact that he is really old and just recently moved out of his parents' basement is the reason.
So
they
it
sold
doesn't give his age. It just says he moved back in for 10 months after he got divorced and then moved back out when he got a new job in a different state. And his parents started to ship him some of his things to his new home. And the porn never came.
I
Took
see
you a
what
second.
you did there.
And then he was like, what the fuck? And they're like, oh yeah, no, we threw all that out. And it says here that basically he kept trying to get prosecutors to press charges, and pretty much every single one was like,
No.
pass.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pass on this one. I guess he finally found someone if he's successfully suing. I don't know if successfully suing, but he's like successfully gotten a charge from somewhere.
It was whoever the like a Hustler magazine lawyer was, I'm guessing.
But it's weird. So he said, but it's weird that the opening statement is that he had, he alleges it was $30,000 worth. And then the closing statement is that he's suing them for close to $87,000.
well,
For the
there's-
emotional distress.
Yeah,
I guess.
obviously. Here's the thing we're skipping over on this that I think we're not mentioning, and I feel like we need to. That guy moved into his parents' house with 30 grand worth of porn. Right?
Well, where else was he going to put it?
Right. I'm just maybe, I don't know, any storage facility in the country. Like,
Yeah,
the
but he was
balls
on
on
hard
that guy.
times. That's true.
to be like, hey, I'm going through a divorce, mom and dad. Can I just move in? It'll be like just like 1 year. I'll be back out. No problem. And they were like, yeah, you can totally move in. And then they were like, what are all these boxes? Like,
Nothing.
I think it was 12 boxes.
Yeah, I
Jeez.
think because I read that story too, and I remember the parents were like, "It took us quite a while to destroy them all."
wow, they're digging the knife in, aren't they?
Yeah,
Oh, it was 3 weeks of burning books.
you have no idea how hard it was.
I see what you did there.
Uh-huh.
All right, so is it news?
I think it's news. I'm
Sweet.
actually quite curious to see where that lawsuit goes.
Yeah, we'll have to see if that gets up in the paper when it succeeds or fails.
I know where some of the porn went. But all right, so that is news. Excellent. I have a new study finds simple way to inoculate teens against junk food marketing. This is a new study. I assume the study was concocted when the other previous studies failed, such as telling kids that carrots are way better than Sour Patch Kids. And what if we gouge out the children's eyes so that they can't see the delicious commercials? No,
I'm not sure what they know what inoculate means though, because
Yeah, there
Well-
wasn't a shot done.
yeah.
Well, so what do they mean in this context?
Well, apparently the adults have cracked the code. It's reverse psychology, like with all
Okay.
kids. Yeah. So basically, they told the kids that eating junk food was exactly what adults want them to do, and it's all a secret adult plot to make money off them, and they're playing right into it. And the kids, particularly teenage boys, were like, nice try, secret adult companies. You can't tell me what to do, and selected healthy foods for 30%, healthier foods 30% more often than the control group. Then again, I presume that they were all then suspended for teasing the control group for being really fat. Seriously, what did that control group do to deserve being treated like that?
But what kind of is, I guess, a sobering thought is they're not technically wrong.
No, they aren't.
No, not at all.
I mean, specifically, it's the adults in charge of said junk food companies, but they're pretty correct.
Yeah. No, it's dead on. They're not lying, but they just reframed it as like, no, go ahead and have some Doritos. Mr. Dorito is going to be really happy about that because he laced it with different chemicals that make it really addicting so that he can make money off of you and you're falling for it. And they were like, I'm not going to fall for it. That's stupid. I'm going to eat this apple.
So what I was hearing is if God forbid I ever have kids and I don't want them to do something, frame whatever that is like it's an episode of The Lone Gunman.
Yeah, basically tell them that it's all a plot to and that's exactly what the people want them to do is, to not clean their rooms.
Yeah, but the only downside is this going to make them grow up into those kids in college that were just like, that think everything's a conspiracy by the man?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, I guess so, but there's currently people who are flat earthers. So, and I just want to apologize ahead of time if somebody that's listening to this podcast is a flat earther.
Who hurt you?
I just want you to know that we don't care. So,
But we're here to help.
yeah, we're not here to help. I'm all out.
I will always be happy to provide percussive maintenance.
I've like looked at a bunch of their videos and stuff, and their whole thing is like, how can we say it's a globe when we don't know for sure? Right. And I want to be like, welcome to like 1,500 years ago when we weren't sure. And then we've slowly proven it. And all you've done is say, all of those things are wrong. I want to start at page 1 again. And
Well,
I'm
also welcome to like most things in life. Like
Right.
if you're only going off of what you can like see, that you're disregarding most of modern technology and
right. Why would you take medicine? Because obviously germs aren't real. You can't see those.
yeah.
Right,
Why,
so-
why am I going to use this cell phone if it's just how am I supposed to believe that this actually works?
Right. Exactly. Why would I need to pasteurize my milk? There's no need to pasteurize milk. That's all part of the conspiracy, isn't it?
That is a real thing people are doing though, and it's let's not open that can of worms.
We'll talk about it a little bit later. So, is it news?
Well, the thing is, it's an interesting study, but I don't know if it's really news because I mean that's kind of, I mean, maybe it's like just the studies finding out, but I feel like people have always been using those kinds of tricky tactics on children.
Yeah, although
I don't
usually
know.
involves candy in a van, but all right, so not news.
I don't know if we have enough to go on personally.
That's fair. Adam,
All right, so we're starting to run a little short on time for this, so we're going to go into our lightning round,
All right.
where we're just going to throw a headline at you. If
Okay.
you have questions, we'll try to answer.
All right.
Large flightless bird attacks and kills Florida man.
Oof. That's great. I don't even think we need to run the story, just the headline. No explanation.
I will note that the large flightless bird is a native of Australia.
That makes perfect sense. Before they deported the indigenous people, they deported all of their flightless birds.
yeah, absolutely.
Kangaroos are next. And it's a slippery slope.
I will say that this is less embarrassing than being killed by a small flightless bird.
I mean, valid.
All right, so it's in. Game of Thrones viewers in China are begging for sex and violence to not be censored in the final season.
No.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. What the hell have they been watching for the last 7 seasons? I assume it's just a 10-minute episode with dialogue and an occasional flying dragon.
Where did you say this was?
China.
China.
Yeah.
I mean, they do censor a lot over there.
They censor apparently all the sex and the violence, and I don't know what else is in the Game of Thrones, honestly.
I mean, I can see where they're coming from then, because I don't know what else is left. Please, just give us a little bit, a little taste.
Anything. Just if I could just watch a dragon eat someone, I'd be so happy.
It's just a black screen for an hour and a half.
It's just solid black with just dialogue blips in there every once in a while.
Yeah.
Oh, they're back. They're back. Okay, great. So is it news?
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty newsworthy. There's a newsworthy connection with the Game of Thrones premiere, so a lot of people are going to be interested in that.
It's very topical, yeah.
Very, very topical, yeah.
Adam.
Woman does karate, son gets naked, dog steals cornbread at Walmart.
Oh.
Not Florida, by the way, in case you were wondering.
I'm curious,
So-
are any of those not allowed in Walmart?
I don't think they're not allowed as much as they're heavily frowned upon, and all three together is the offense.
No,
So-
okay. They were too much.
Were they, so it was, all of them were together, but were they connected, or was it just
It was a family.
a family? Okay.
So like apparently they went in with the dog off lead. The dog started running around and stealing crap, and when people called the police, mom started doing karate to try to fight them off, and the son just got naked and started to like assault people.
My.
I
I
like
think my
the
favorite.
kid's style.
I will say that one of my favorite parts is that when the police went to go arrest him, he first tried to throw a bunch of clothes from a nearby rack on, which is technically shoplifting. And then he apparently got his hands on an electric scooter and tried to run them over, and they just pulled him off the scooter.
That's awesome. I like this kid.
Yeah, he was inoculated well.
That
Yep.
kid might be my spirit animal,
This whole story just screams, remember, kids, meth is a hell of a drug.
right?
Where did you say this was?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Wow.
Which is why I'm going with meth. It is kind of like a methy area of the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't know. I feel like, definitely a lot of cheddar.
I feel like they were locked in their house all winter because of snow or something, and they just got out, and then this happened.
You always see those articles about how like cheese is just as same thing as crack. Which-
I've not seen that article, Kai. Could you forward that over to me?
Oh.
Fondue is going to be a lot more fun this week.
Oh, I finally have a reason to break out that fondue set from mom and dad.
All right, so is it news?
Yeah, I think it's pretty exciting, entertaining news story.
All right,
So-
excellent. So, last but not least, this is what the segment I like to call sometimes the jokes write themselves. Breast milk for adults may become the new cash cow.
Well, that's actually are they saying that they're gonna start mass producing breast milk?
Yeah, it sounds like people are trying to essentially make it legal to be able to sell human breast milk, and that is the that's apparently supposed to be like a $1.35 billion market. If it ends up happening, there's like good bacteria in it and all of these things that people who can't see bacteria don't believe in.
I would, as much as I would love to see Mama's Milk as like a store brand.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm interested in the idea. I feel like the women who are producing this milk, like given what the like current dairy industry is with cows,
Yeah.
I'm horrified to think of what that would be for humans.
I am curious if so when you are breastfeeding a baby as a mother, not you personally, Kai, but just in general, I think you're told not to drink. You're not supposed to drink because alcohol can actually get into the breast milk and then affect the child as well, which makes me wonder if you're doing it for adults. You see where we're going?
Okay.
It's like a natural
So
white Russian.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
I have a very, very roundabout way instead of just like putting a shot into the milk. But
Yeah, exactly. I'm wondering if this will be a thing. It's supposed to be sweeter. So I don't know. Is it news, Kai?
Well, I mean, how much is this like actually, are they just speculating that this could be a thing, or are they like, what is the news? Is the FDA looking into this? Is it just some people are talking about it? Sounds like it could be one of those things where it's just like, this could be a thing. What do you guys think?
Yeah. The likelihood of it happening on a scale from like A to double D is like a C.
Yeah.
I see what you did there. I'm so disappointed in you sometimes.
What? It's a perfectly reasonable scale.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it'd be jumping the gun a little bit to run this story now without any. People would be, like, too excited to go pick some up, and I couldn't see this happening for at least several years.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. So maybe not right now. We wait on it and then
File
launch.
it into the cabinet
We put it in the.
for a slow week. Yeah.
All right. This is a slow week.
There's
All right. Excellent. So we finished up. Now the big question is, what are we going to name this brand new publication?
the St. Louisville Tribune.
St. Louisville Tribune.
Yes.
Is it going to be in St. Louisville?
Nope. Absolutely not.
A little confusing, but I like it. Hey, the New York Times is sold in other places than New York.
Yeah, it's actually produced in Los Angeles. Not many people know that.
I didn't. I've learned something.
It's not produced in Los Angeles.
You
Completely made that
bastard. You're spreading fake news. Fake news. All right. Well, excellent. So how do you feel you did? You were a media mogul.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I actually have been a editor of a publication before. So,
okay.
but not nearly these level of exciting stories. So,
well, I'm glad you've got a really good reporting team. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So
Good work.
thank you. Speaking of good work, you've got a brand new album coming out called Start to End. We have a track from it called Tiny World. You're going to be performing this, I assume, live at the house concert at the Commune in Washington, D.C. on Sunday, April 28th.
Yeah.
And if people want tickets to that, go to KaiO'Ryan.com. They reach out to Kai himself, ask him a very troubling question, and get yourself
I'll give you
tickets.
a very troubling answer and maybe tell you where the address is.
Yeah, exactly. How to get there. So tell us a little bit about Tiny World. We've heard a little bit about the album. What inspired you to write Tiny World?
Well, so I for a while I was writing songs with my loop pedal, and I do a lot of like one man band kind of like looping sets. And I was experimenting with using the flute, which I play.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and as like a kind of like a rhythmic element, and I came up with this like kind of like beatboxing flute riff
cool.
that I just had on loop, and that's kind of what I built the song around. And then I added all sorts of other. There's like a cigar box guitar that does like the main guitar riff and wine glasses and stuff. And then it's kind of, I kind of wanted to make it like an energetic song, but with a lot of acoustic sounds. So like it's kind of like upbeat, but a lot of the sounds are like it's an upright bass and like acoustic piano and stuff.
Nice. So that's very cool. So it was just it's kind of music that inspired itself to be written.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, I've kind of been writing like that a lot lately, just like starting out with like a really simple loop and just like building on top of that and kind of trying to like shift the dynamics around. And I think it's good. Sometimes you can get into like just by having a repeating idea, just get into kind of like a trance thing and just like build a song. And
why did you name it Tiny World?
I think, so a lot of the songs on the album, it's like a loose story kind of, just about like relationships, like groundbreaking lyrical themes. No one's ever written about it before.
Right.
And that's, I was kind of, just doing like the whole, comparing another person with like another world and, that kind of imagery.
Nice.
And that's another kind of theme of the album, I guess, is like that kind of like universal, just like really, really large scale metaphors and really like intimate small scale things. And so like switching between like comparing someone to like a planet versus like just, intimate, like day to day kind of things.
That's cool. Well, let's take a listen to the track. Once again, this is the track Tiny World from the album start to end. If you want to hear the entire track, fast forward to the 1 hour mark. Otherwise, let's fire this off.
I'm mesmerized by the grand design, structure of your spine, every mark inside, filling up the skies of your waking eyes when they're open wide, reflecting mine.
Kai, what I love about this is that you've started going into more traditional sounds, but you've got some really unique instruments in there as well happening.
Yeah.
So you've got the real, quote unquote, real instruments, but they're also like unusual real instruments like flutes. It sounded like some sax in there.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of was another thing, was continuing the idea of like use it like a kind of like a contrast between familiar and alien type sounds and so it's not only like objects that you see every day used as instruments. It's kind of like the same thing, like a familiar thing in like a unfamiliar way. And then with this album, it was also using instruments that are sort of familiar in unfamiliar ways, and that's kind of like what the rhythmic flute and like little saxophone, like I kind of edited only like the clicks and like mouth noises of the saxophone and just kind of like sprinkled them here and there.
Yeah, we can hear that. It's great.
So,
I think it's a really cool, has great energy to it. If you want to hear more from Kai Orion, go to KaiOrion.com. That's KAIORION.com. Are you ready for a new challenge, Kai?
Sure.
Well, we are going to put you head to head with what we like to call, please God, just get one right.
Okay.
This is our game show. Our last guest, the Gail Herod Band, they're playing Saturday, April 20th at Edith May's Paradise in Jessup, Maryland. They picked a category for you. So if you do not like this category, you can go over to Edith May's Paradise and let them know on April 20th. Are you ready for your category?
Yes.
It is classic Twilight Zone episodes.
Oh boy. Okay.
How do you feel?
I've seen a few.
Okay. Excellent. All right, so let's get started and see how you land. It's okay if you don't, because remember, at the end of this, you'll have to figure out a category for our next guest. So to keep
All right.
that in mind. So Adam, how about you get us started?
The episode titled 22 features a professional dancer named Liz Powell who's in the hospital for exhaustion. She suffers a nightmare every night where she knocks over a glass of water and then follows footsteps through the hospital to room 22, which is the morgue. There, a nurse greets her by saying what phrase?
Let's see.
Guten Morgen.
Oh dear, the flowers are in high bloom this morning.
Ah, I love it. Super specific. That's great.
No, am I wrong?
No, the answer you're looking for is room for one more, honey.
All right, I was close.
Yeah, no, that was dead on. Just a couple of words off. All right. In the last season of the original Twilight Zone, for the episode Owl Creek Bridge, to save money rather than producing an entire episode themselves, the producers bought the rights to what French short film for which they made the episode?
I believe it was du jus d'orange.
Jus d'orange.
Jus d'orange. Jus.
Excellent. No, it is not. Loosely translated into English, it would be An Incident at Owl Creek Bridge.
Okay.
So they kind of stole the title too.
All right.
All right. This classic episode features a Leave It to Beaver-esque suburban town when the power suddenly goes out. As strange events begin to happen and fueled by children's stories of hidden aliens trying to conquer the earth, the townspeople begin to turn on each other, eventually leading to an all-out riot. What was the name of this episode?
Let's see.
What do you got? I like that you're like genuinely trying to guess them. That's the thing. Like you could be like, I have no goddamn idea, but you're coming up with actual French phrases, and it's great.
The beavers are loose again.
Beavers are loose again. That'd be a good one.
Yeah.
No, the answer is the monsters are due on Maple Street.
All right, so I had the syntax, the general like sentence structure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
actually, I believe you had the same number of
The
syllables.
something. It was something with the something.
it was English. That's the right language. You're doing fine. For the record, Kai, this is a really tricky section, and you're handling it beautifully.
Oh, thank you.
This might be your best.
I'm an expert, so
Yeah, well, obviously. This might be your best shot, I think, at getting one. And it's
Okay.
going to be tough. So think about the time frame. We're talking about classic Twilight Zone, right?
all right.
Considered one of the worst Twilight Zone episodes with its laugh track and terribly unfunny writing, Cadaver is Coming was actually intended to be a sitcom pilot and ended up featuring what famous female TV comedian?
Wasn't it Jen Kirkman?
That was, yeah, no, it's not even close. No, Carol Burnett.
Okay,
was Carol
you're
Burnett.
right. That should have been.
I thought you might have a shot, but that was a hard one.
All right. This episode of The Twilight Zone features Agnes Moorehead, who had previously gained fame working for the Orson Welles Mercury Theater and for her work on the radio drama Sorry, Wrong Number. In it, Agnes encounters strange miniature beings from outer space, and it is known for the fact that the popular radio voice actress doesn't have a single word of dialogue to convey her terror. What was the name of this popular episode?
Oof. Let's see.
So yeah, it's going to be strange miniature beings from outer space.
Strange.
If you know how to say that in French, I'll give it to you.
Le petit.
Petit enfant. That's kind of what you do. Yeah. That'll have to be my guess, I'm afraid.
The answer we're looking for is The Invaders.
The Invaders?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, last but not
Straightforward.
least, this has been a hard one. I have to be honest. Some people get things that are more music related. Sometimes it's
I've
off the
found
wall.
it to be a piece of cake.
You what?
I've found it to be a piece of cake myself.
I mean, you're nailing it. I gotta say.
The cake is a total lie, but you're getting
it's
it's a piece of cake.
slipping right out of me.
If you eat enough of that cake, you don't have to go into the army. Just so you
The
know.
bullshit cake.
This episode is notable for two reasons, neither of which is that one of the characters double dog dared the other to cease speaking for a year. First, it contained no supernatural or sci-fi elements at all. Second, one of its main characters, played by Francois Tonnet,
Sure.
did not show up to shooting one day. He had an accident which resulted in about half of his face being scraped raw. The producers solved this by shooting one half of his face for the entire episode. Can you name that episode?
Wait, so they still went ahead and filmed it?
They
Yeah.
still filmed it, but only half of his face.
But they basically just shot him in profile from one side.
The
Wow.
episode is notable for two reasons, neither of which being that one actor double dog dared the other to cease speaking for a year. Half a face, no supernatural sci-fi elements at all, other than the fact that half a face is missing.
Which, you know.
All right, any guesses?
Was it the one called Doug the Double Dog?
I wish it was. I genuinely, that's what they should have called it. The Silence was what it was called.
All right.
So unfortunately, you did not get one right today. That's very sad, but it does happen. And what you now get to do is maybe take that pain and pass it on to our next guest. Do you have a category that you would like 6 questions to be asked of our next guest about?
Sure. How about rare birds of the Canadian Northwest?
What was it? Birds?
Rare birds
Rare
of the Canadian
birds.
Northwest.
All right, Northwest. That's going to be hard because I'm assuming there's not a ton of rare birds in the Northwest because they're rare. But we'll try our best to keep in the parameters of that.
He didn't specify the northwest of what.
That's
I
true.
said the Canadian Northwest.
Oh, you did say Canadian northwest.
But if you need to expand it a little bit,
Well, we do our best to try and make it work out. So we'll see if we can make that. If not, we will expand or make it just birds, or I don't know. It'll just be.
Worst case scenario, we'll just try to incite the Canadians to become suddenly and alarmingly expansionist so that the Northwest just kind of stretches across a little bit.
That's
200
fair.
years in the future, when Europe is taken over by Canada, what will be a rare bird in their northwest?
well, the entire world is owned by Canada.
Yes.
What are some birds that might be found?
All right. Well, I think you did a really commendable job with a very difficult topic. Granted, I think you've also passed on a very difficult topic to our next guest. So they'll feel the same disheartening failure that you have, which is perfect. That's why we
Cool.
designed it this way. Again, if you're upset at the topic, feel free to go stop by and see the Gail Herod Band Saturday, April 20th at Edith Mays Paradise in Jessup, Maryland. You can check them out at thegailherodband.com. All right.
I'll have
We've gotten towards the end of our show now.
Go far again?
We'll do a little section here called Near and Far.
See?
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
You understand?
You understand. So we've got 2 stories from you, one near and one far. Let's start off with, I don't know, let's say the near story. You said it had to do with found sounds, which seems to be kind of in your wheelhouse here. So tell us about that.
Yeah, well, so I mentioned the first album I did with each song being a different like theme of found sounds,
Uh-huh.
and One of them is traffic sound themed.
Okay, yeah.
And so the main thing that I used were these like car horn blares that were kind of these like chordal, like brass section blares throughout the song.
Right, because a car horn kind of has more than one note to it, right?
Yeah.
I can hear that.
So they form these little chords, and so to record it, I like drove my car out to what I thought would be like kind of a remote area, which I live in the city, so it wasn't that easy to find, and it wasn't a remote area at all. And I was like, this will be a fine place to like park my car and like blare my horn repeatedly for an hour or so.
Yeah, no, that's what we do on the show.
Yeah, exactly. I figured it. And then while I was doing that, at one point, this police car passed by and just like pulled up and walked over and was just kind of like, "What you doing?"
Did you strip naked and do karate?
It was the only thing I could think of at the time. I'm sorry. I regret it. If the policeman is listening, I'm sorry about the karate. No apologies about the naked.
Sir, stop trying to run us over with this electric scooter.
And he told me that it wasn't technically illegal what I was doing, but that it probably wasn't a good idea.
But it was super annoying.
Yeah, that was the gist of it.
Look, I can't tell you that you have to stop this, but you're kind of an asshole.
Please stop.
Really
And I think I
appreciate
thought I'd found like this perfect like remote like parking lot. I'm pretty sure there was just a line of trees with like a neighborhood like right on the other side.
When I was in high school, I took a film like class in high school. And one of the videos we did like a music video, and we like did a drug deal going down. And I guess we were so realistic about it, the cops showed up and they were like, "What are you doing?" And we're like, "Filming." They're like, "Sure, you're filming." We're like, "Seriously, we're the worst drug dealers ever. We brought our own cameras."
Yeah. Just in case we needed evidence.
Right. So for your far story, you said something happened outside Cleveland.
Yeah, I did this this show in kind of this like remote town outside of Cleveland, and it was kind of like there wasn't really much out there.
I mean, it's Cleveland.
Yeah, and it was like an hour from Cleveland.
Oh
so it
my
was
God.
like
Okay.
it was even like as Cleveland plus, and it was this kind of like warehouse like DIY space, and it was actually a really good show. But when I got there, there was just me and the guy that was running it and kind of doing everything. He was doing sound, he set up the show, and he was like giving me the rundown, and as he was talking, he just kind of like casually pulled out this bottle of Robitussin, like cough syrup, and just started like sipping it like it was just a like it was just a cocktail. And and I was like, you know what, I'm sure he knows what he's doing. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. It's weird, but whatever. And then when it got time for me to play, like I had like a kind of not super complicated, but like the things had to be plugged in, and he was just totally out of it. He was like, "Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know how you're gonna like get them." And I was like,
"How are you gonna plug a thing into the PA, man? That's crazy."
So I ended up doing it all myself, and like which I was fine with. It was, and like if he had, it was just the fact that it was so blatantly in front of me.
Right, and he didn't even pour it into like a martini glass or anything.
Yeah.
To be classy. Oh, Kai, we're out of time. Thank you so much for spending an hour with us. Did you have a good time?
I did, yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, hopefully we'll see you again next time you have a brand new album that consists all of just bird sounds from the Northwest. Everyone, go see Kai Orion Sunday, April 28th at the house concert at the Commune in Washington, D.C. Remember, you got to go up to KaiOrion.com, write him to find out about tickets and the location, and also check out his new album, Start to End, when it comes out on Sunday the 28th. Please like our posts, follow us, retweet us, and share the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We cannot do this without you. Also, don't forget to review us on Facebook, iTunes, and Google Play. If you're an artist, musician, or culture creator in the DC area and you want to be on our show, email us at booking@anotherwastedhour.com. Thanks to everyone for everything they do, including my co-host Adam. Most of all, thanks to Kai Orion for wasting a perfectly good hour with us. This has been Another Wasted Hour, and if you just realized that, don't blame us. We warned you.
I'm mesmerized by the grand design, structure of your spine, every mark inside, filling up the skies of your waking eyes. When they're open wide, yeah, reflecting mine. Oh, it's a tiny wall with you by my side. Yeah, oh, it's a tiny wall with you by my side. Yeah, girl, it's a tiny room. I'll walk with you to the very edge, and I'll walk right to the very edge, and I'll walk with you to the very edge, and I'll walk right to the very edge. I'm so obliged to walk the countryside.